City.
Actually, that's spot on.
It is spot on.
All the competition that try to compete.
Everything is spot on.
The Chicago Bears have been wanting a quarterback for a very long time. In this year's draft, Justin Fields fell all the way to them, but they said to Andy Dalton, "We promise you a starting job week 1. We're going to work with you." And then they drafted Justin Fields. He had a good performance, Justin Fields, in this last preseason game. Should they stick with Andy Dalton, or do they move him over and have Justin Fields as the week 1 starter? What you think, John?
I think Justin Fields has to be your week 1 starter. And this wasn't my stance before the preseason game. I admittedly am drinking the Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? I'm on the Justin Fields bandwagon. But I think partially is because he was always great in college. I think he had a couple down games this year, on a shortened schedule. I guess the game in Indiana where he had 3 picks, the game against Northwestern, where he didn't look like a top prospect. But Justin Fields was great his whole college career. A lot of people had him and Trevor Lawrence at different times as 1A, 1B, and then we kind of saw him get drugged through the mud through the draft process, and people were, talking as if he wasn't even a first-round pick. The Bears kind of, invested a lot. They moved up. They gave up a first-round pick next year, and I know they brought in Andy Dalton to kind of be that bridge. That's still a team that has a really good defense, a team that's supposed to be competitive but hasn't really been competitive. Because of quarterback playing other things the last couple of years. But if Justin Fields is the future, then why not let him be the present, right? You're going to have Andy Dalton start for a couple of games to get Justin Fields more ready. But how will you ever know when he's ready? He's a rookie. He's going to always make mistakes. When I saw what he did when he went out there in that preseason game, he had 175 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing. And, I mean, he looked great. He looked dominant. Against, it's against preseason defenses, vanilla defenses, but at the end of the day, he jumped off the screen. You saw the athleticism. You saw what separates him from most quarterbacks in the league, notably Andy Dalton. Even if he doesn't have it all figured out right now, even if he doesn't have the football IQ that Andy Dalton is, he's a hell of a playmaker. And when the play breaks down, he can do things that Andy Dalton can't do. I can see if Mac Jones was behind Andy Dalton, then you could say there's no point in putting Mac Jones in because Mac Jones does exactly what Andy Dalton does. But Justin Fields brings a level of talent and savvy to that position and to that team that Andy Dalton just can't. You know what I mean? Experience doesn't make him better than Justin Fields. And after what I saw this weekend, I don't think Andy Dalton is better than Justin Fields. Put him in there, let him learn on the job. If the Bears don't win the Super Bowl this year, that's fine because they weren't going to with Andy Dalton. You know what I mean? Let him get in there, get those growing pains, and make those mistakes. Andy Dalton is not the future. Justin Fields in, and he needs to get all the reps as possible. And I'm not so sure that he's not better than Andy Dalton already as we speak today.
So, all good points for Justin Fields. I, however, think that this is a situation where you kind of let him get some reps under Andy Dalton in, and they kind of, do a temporary thing with Andy Dalton, and let Justin Fields work his way in there. It's a change from college to the pro level, and I think Justin Fields in that second half of that preseason game, he showed a lot of what he was able to do in college, rolling out of the pocket, getting the ball out in a timely enough manner. And so all of those things in the plus for Justin Fields. However, there was one preseason game. I would like to see him against a full set of starters, but I don't know that week 1 is the thing to do right there for Justin Fields. I think give it a few more weeks and then into the regular season at least, and then push him out
there. Okay. First week of preseason, like Mia said, saw Justin Fields, right? Came out against the Dolphins, 14-20. Pretty sharp. Ran 33 yards, got him to score. I love it. It's cool. That's cool. Against vanilla defenses. Let's simmer down a bit and know that Andy Dalton is a capable enough starter than a lot of other quarterbacks in this league actually are. When you do not, we always get into this case where it's rushing quarterbacks in. Here's the thing, John, you're totally right. Only because Matt Nagy needs to save his job. That's the only reason. Justin Field comes in, even if they don't have a great record, he wows the Bears, right? They see the flashes that they love to say he can take the necessary steps forward to become our franchise quarterback. And Matt Nagy's still going to be there to be able to work with his guy. If he puts in Andy Dalton and for some reason they wait too long to put in Justin Fields, then you can see him getting fired at the end of the season and a new head coach. So just based off the theory of Justin Fields looking as great as he did in the first week, makes Matt Nagy's choice to draft him look perfect. Do we really feel good about that going into week one? Probably not. Not against NFL starters. Justin Fields is great. We love that we did at Clemson. He showed the boys and everything in the first week of preseason. But this is real live action against the starters. I don't know. I think I personally think he should run with Andy Dalton, but I can definitely agree with John's take to say just put him out there now, but only for the sake of saving Matt Nagy's job.
I think when you look at it, if you look at the recent track record of quarterbacks, right, like all the quarterbacks that have been drafted, they've either been ready, somewhat ready, or ready enough when they've been drafted, or when they came in, they had immediate success. When you look at, let's look at Tyrod Taylor twice, right? Tyrod Taylor, when he was with the Browns, they came out struggling. They started him for, just to say, like the philosophy you have, Tony, just put the veteran out there. You know what I mean? Let the rookie sit. They put him out there. The Browns struggled. They put Baker Mayfield in, like instant. You know what I mean? Like instant offense. It was an instant change. The same thing last year. Hold on. Same thing last year. Justin Herbert didn't even know he was going to start. The doctor was out there committing malpractice. You know what I mean? Justin Herbert found out before the game he was going in. Turned into a star. Joe Burrow went out there week one. He was a star until he got hurt. And that's what I'm saying. If Justin Fields is already showing, like, yeah, it's not against week one starters, but these are against second string. These are still NFL players. And he went out there and he showed us something that, one, we know that Andy Dalton doesn't have, but two, everything that the media said about him during the draft process looked completely not true. They said he was stuck on his first read. We saw him out there looking at multiple reads, right? They said that he holds the ball too long. He freezes. He was out there looking very instinctual, right? When the play broke down or there wasn't anything there, he ran. We saw him with the size and the strength, his ability to break away from tacklers and run into a touchdown by time on the passing plays. We saw a lot of things from Justin Fields. And so that's why I say this wasn't my stance before seeing him. When I saw him and saw that he really looked like the quarterback at Ohio State and the quarterback that he was projected to be before he was mauled through the draft process, that's why I say go ahead and put them out there, because I don't think that Andy Dalton is going to start all 17 games. He's not sitting behind Peyton Manning. He's not sitting behind somebody that's going to raise the ceiling of a team, right? Andy Dalton is just going to make sure you have a decent floor. Like, he's going to make sure you don't go 3-13. You know what I mean? But Andy Dalton is still a 6-10, 7-9 type quarterback. So if that's what you have in front of Justin Fields, and Justin Fields is the future, then go ahead and put Justin Fields in week one and roll with what he's going to give you. He's only going to continue to get better. We know that.
I can agree with that. As long as it works. Whatever saves Matt Nagy's job. that's all I'm talking about. Whatever saves his job is the answer that we go with.
I think the definition of this situation is the Bears have had slightly below average quarterbacks for like the past decade. And having a slightly below average quarterback means you're never the worst team in the league, but you're never an above average team. And I think you finally have something sent from the heavens in Justin Fields. Put all your chips in. And if you look butt ugly, you got a top 5 pick or whatever it is, you still got to get. But look, if you're bad, you're bad. But if you're good, you're good. If you have Andy Dalton, you're just okay. So y'all tell us what y'all think in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see y'all next time. SOS Discussion.
We thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to check out more shows here on this YouTube page, such as SOS Discussions or My Point Exactly. And most of all,
keep watching Spot on Sports.
It's a new wave of sports that's sweeping the nation. We're not just accurate, it's spot on.